many were blacks? Just 13%. How many were whites? 74%. So you see a lot of rhetorics and a lot of his campaign plans more targeted towards the whites, because he understands that that is where the majority are. During Obama's period, what he had done was, yes, he had tried to focus a bit.
Sorry to cut you there, and you think that's not a mistake when you try to look out for the majority. Don't forget, in 2000, that was almost what happened, because it was almost over 1 million more votes Vice President Al Gore had over President Bush, but he didn't win that election based on the Electoral College, which you just highlighted now. So if you must move with the electors in the Electoral College, you must exceed about 270 or so. So if he's looking for the popular vote and not looking at the electors ultimately who will vote on the behalf of these people, I don't know how that plays out.
I think you're right, but I think perhaps it's the reverse. I think he is looking at being able to do exactly what you just mentioned, what George Bush did in 2000. So you remember that election in 2000, as some said, was highly rigged in the US. Then Al Gore had won the popular vote by over 500,000 votes.
Yes.
But George Bush had more electoral college votes. So he had 271 electoral college votes versus Al Gore, who only had 267. So what had happened was, even though Al Gore won the popular votes, George Bush won the electoral college.
Okay, our concluding moments now. What do you expect to see in terms of when the figures begin to pop in, when the voting begins proper, not the ones that are already pre-voting already going on? In terms of, you compare the polls you've seen, do you expect it to follow a similar pattern eventually?
I think this is one of the most unpredictable elections in the U.S. history. What we'll expect tomorrow is a state like California, that is traditionally a democratic state, will get all the votes of the electorate, 55. A state like Texas, that has 38 electoral college votes, that is also traditional Republican, will go to the Republicans. Where we see a lot of contest will be what we've heard about in the last 7 days, a lot of swing states: Florida, Ohio, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Iowa. Those are states that are a bit unstable and unpredictable. And the reason why the electoral college votes is the most important is that that is where, and that is what determines who will become the next United States president, not the popular votes.
Let me quickly come in here. Since we know that so many Republicans have been given their feelings of not loving Donald Trump at this point in time, do you think that most of the electoral votes in places like Texas, that has 38, and California 55, will definitely be a guaranteed electoral vote for Trump?
Nothing is guaranteed for Trump, but also nothing is guaranteed for Hillary Clinton. But what we'll expect is, for some of those states that are traditional Democratic and Republican states, those states will still go to those respective parties. The contest now lies between about 10 states that could swing either side. But it is very likely that within the next 48 hours, we'll know who will become the next president of the United States.
Mark,
But we worry about what effect the outcome will have on Nigeria. But then there are also examples that we're drawing from the country. Do you think that we can learn a thing or two in terms of how this campaign has been contested? Maybe what not to do, perhaps?
There's a lot of lessons to learn. But for me, perhaps the most important lesson is, how do you become a president of the United States, and how do you become a president in Nigeria? That is, for me, the most important lesson. Now, a major difference is a 35-year-old can become a president of the United States. In Nigeria, you have to be 40 years old. And here's what makes it more important. The United States recently made it clear that life expectancy is above 60. In Nigeria, life expectancy is just 55. So ordinarily, you see a life expectancy in the United States in the 60s, and you can be president at 35. In Nigeria, life expectancy is lower, and you have to be 40. Here's what it means. It is extremely difficult for that young man or woman, indeed, to become president, especially if you look at a report that was not so recently released by the Bureau of Statistics that told us that 78% of Nigerians are below the age of 40. It simply means 78% of Nigerians will never have the opportunity to become president.
So those who can lead right. Thank you for coming on, Jide Ogunsewo's data and information analyst. And that's the show today. We'll be back tomorrow. Thank you for watching. I'm Chamberlain.
I really hope we're not anti-youth or anti-young people. Thank you, Jide. Many thanks. I'm Sulaiman Alede.
Thank you, I'm Maupe Ogun.